Children who raise their siblings. You are a child and you are the mother in that home. You are the one who is supposed to raise your children, your siblings, and you have to do it because there is no option. What causes this to happen? It has happened because most of the times the parents die. Other times the parents separate and the person who is left in charge, one parent is left in charge, but later things happen and they also abandon their children, or they disappear, they walk away. And this is a case that we are going to discuss today. We are discussing a case of a parent who did not die, but these children were raised by their firstborn child, leaving your firstborn child to raise her siblings when she is 10 years old. Can you imagine that? Oh my God. Oh my God. A 10-year-old has to raise her siblings, being the mother at 10. You know, you are a mother at 10 and you are raising your siblings. How sad. This can happen, and it happened because this is a true story that I'm going to tell you here today. A true story of a 10-year-old child who became a mother, not by design. Not by design. Oh, guys, or do we say by design? What do we say? When it is intentional, the father walked away, but the mother did not die. The mother was left for some time and later decided to also walk away from the children. So how sad. These children were left without care. And the first born daughter was 10 years old, but she was now forced to become the mother of the other two siblings that were 3 and 5 years old. And let's discuss this story, guys. Let's discuss it because it is very, very sad. It is very sad because this mother never died. The father may walk away, but the mother is the one who gives birth, and she's the one who knows what it feels, what it feels to, to bring up, to give birth to a child. So I don't see the reason why a mother should walk away, leaving their firstborn 10-year-old to cater for the young ones, the younger siblings, the younger children that she has. And it is very unfortunate. Language is disappearing. English is Englishing. When I tell this story, and it is because it is a true story, English is just disappearing. Oh my God. It is disappearing because I can't imagine a 10-year-old becoming the mother in a home where there used to be a father and a mother. And she has to become a mother because she has no option. It is very, very sad. Very, very sad. And this is what happened. As I told you guys, this is a true story. It is a true story. It happened. So what happened is that the father walked away. But the mother decided now, hey, it is not me who will bring up these children. I'm also going to, to walk away. And it happened that the mother now walked away. The mother walked away. Guys, how do you walk away from your children? The father can walk away. These men never go to the hospitals to give birth. So the father can walk away. But you, the mother, why are you walking away from your children? How do you leave a 10-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 5-year-old? And you disappear without even caring. They did not have anything to eat. And the mother was like, I'm going to be the woman of the Bible. The mother to Ishmael. Who decided that I'll walk away so that I don't see my children die. My child die in this biblical case. And that is what this mama dad did. She walked away so that she doesn't see the children die. But when you leave and you leave them there, they are going to die anyway. Because a child waits for the mother to come and feed them. And if you have walked away, who will come and feed these children? So the neighbors will hear the cry the very first day, the second day, and they are like, they'll go and check because usually people are very concerned. They want to know what has happened. And that is what happened. They checked on the children, but they found the children left alone in the house. The mother has switched off the phone, or maybe she did not have a phone. The mother cannot be reached. It was a police case. They went to the police and reported that children have been abandoned. And what happens? The police ask, is their grandmother? or a grandfather. And unfortunately or fortunately, yes, there was a grandmother who was also very old. And now this woman could not fed for the kids, but the kids had to be taken there to the grandmother's house. And the chief announced that people of goodwill and churches can come through for the family so that they take them food, so that these people can feed on aid. And this is what happened. The church was very fast. The church donated money and went shopping and did the shopping and took the food stuff to the grandmother's house. And the grandmother was too old. So at least there is food, but there is nobody to cook. Even as the church went there, they questioned and asked, now that we have bought all this, who will be cooking? And you know now the grandmother says, we will say what to do. But she's too old. So the 10-year-old at least knows how to light the firewood fire. Firewood fire. What do you call that fire that you make with firewood? Yes, the bonfire. Or do you call it the bonfire or what? The fireplace. And she could do that with firewood. And at least she could be told, okay, put the cooking pot on top. And during the day, the girl could just go out there and try to fetch some firewood and come. And on getting home, she had to cook for the children and the grandmother, under the instructions of the old woman, who sometimes dozes off in the kitchen when the food is still cooking. I don't know what happens to, I don't know, okay, I know because I had a grandmother. And old mamas, old grandmas will always doze. They will doze when in the fireplace, dozing, sleeping, falling to sleep. And this girl is still cooking here. And she's still a child. Her mind is not like mature. Do you know the way the children jump around at that age? They want to, even when they are walking, they are just jumping around. And this child is not an exception. So she's still jumping around and sometimes forgetting that food was cooking and going to the other room. And by the time the grandmother calls her, she's already forgotten that there was ugali cooking or rice or any food on the fireplace. So coming back, the food has already burnt out. But thank God they managed. Let me also tell you that there are times that the grandmother would doze, and the children have already gone out to pray, and they come back and the food has already burnt and it is late, but they go hungry, they go and sleep hungry, because now what else can they do? It's already late. And this lady, because of her age, she was about 90, she had to stay with these kids. At one time, these children became very dirty because during the time that they were with the mother, they could bathe, do their homework, and then they go and sleep after eating. But you see, this time the children have got nobody to tell them to go and bathe. The grandma doesn't even, remember that people are supposed to shower. They don't. When you are 90 and very old and alone, the grandfather had died. They don't remember that. So food was there, but there was a lot of, you can imagine a home without anybody to sweep, without anybody to clean up. The children are dirty. Sometimes they fall sick. This 10-year-old is the one to take them to take the small child to hospital. And it was like, where is your mother? We live with a grandma. And why didn't you come with my grandma? Grandma is 90-year-old. This is a true story, guys. It is a true story. And guys, it is very sad that a mother can abandon their children for any reason. I don't see any reason. Even if you lacked, you cannot abandon them to die. I would rather you die with them instead of abandoning them. Anyway, the church came through, but let me tell you the story now. At one point, people always forget, the food that was donated by the church, it got finished. It got finished. And your case is only remembered when it is very hot. When the case has just happened, it is remembered by people. But when it overstays, people kind of, take it for granted. Let me tell you a story about somebody who broke into that house to steal that food. Somebody broke into that house and stole the food that was bought by the church. And they went with them. And the girl reported this to the grandmother. And with the grandmother, they just hold their cheeks like this and say, Now who is this who did this to us? Now what are we going to eat? What are we going to eat? And after that, there she is dozing. Because she was aged and she was sick. So now, let me tell you guys, you who steal even from such people, what happens to you? Are you well? Surely. You steal from them, you go and eat, and they die. Anyway, the chief still came through for them. But at some time, and that's why I'm doing this video, it's because at some point they ran out of food. Running out of food completely, there was nothing in that house. And the chief who knew the case had transferred. And now this girl is still a child. A 10-year-old is still a child. The grandmother is old. There's nobody to even advise her now. You have to go and report again. You have to go to church again and say this and that. So they stayed without food until a good Samaritan, that is the goodness of God. God will always send a good Samaritan. A good Samaritan came by and advised the church again that family did not have something to eat. Let me also tell you that there are so many families out there without food. So don't expect that this particular family, that the church will be caring every other time, trying to check if they have cooking fat, salt and sugar, every other time, and even milk. They don't have that because there are many families that are lacking, and there are many cases that have been brought to the church office for such cases. So at one time, this case will be forgotten, and that is what happened. This case was forgotten, and I want to tell you that after some time, this family now became like, these children had to go out in the streets and fed for their food. They could beg. Sometimes they could get, other times they couldn't, and they could take the little that they get to their grandmother. But because they are children, and you know how children are, one time they go and get into bad company, and they meet with other children on the streets, because this was in the city, and they get now swallowed up by the street gangs, and they disappear. They disappeared. That is what happened to these two children that were younger. And now the bigger child kept remembering the grandmother, but she was still in the streets. Still in the streets. So after some time, the grandmother was so hungry and could not even be taken back to the hospital by anybody because there was nobody. This bigger child also now had become a bit bigger and was about 12 years old. And she was now in the streets also now enjoying, when they beg and they get some money and they sniff glue. And they forget things. So this grandmother was left alone. Do you know this grandmother ended up dying in the house? And the body was found there. I'm sure this grandmother died of hunger. How sad. How sad. Died of hunger. These children were born by two parents who decided, let's get our firstborn, our secondborn, and a thirdborn. Yet they left these children to die. How sad. So, okay, you know what happens in the village when somebody dies, or in the houses, wherever, in the city or wherever, these bodies are taken to the mortuary. And the same thing happened to this grandmother. And of course, whether you are poor or rich, you are always buried. You are always buried. So this lady was buried, this grandma was buried, and the firstborn child cried a lot because they knew that the grandmother had died. But after some time, the daughter who had run away and walked out on the children heard the news of the burial of the mother, of the mother now, and came back. Actually, she came back on the burial date. And even her children were not there. Only the firstborn daughter, who had almost forgotten the mother and could not even be contained. Now, even the mother could not convince this girl to come back to her because already, the mother abandoned her. And after the burial, the mother tried to look for the daughter to speak to her and try to convince her that they go home together or they start life together. And she was, no, I'm going back to the streets. I'm going back to the streets. So now, this lady had to go back to the mother's house now, the late mother's house alone, without children. The children are in the streets. They cannot be found. And it doesn't matter whether she came with anything or without, but she has come home to an empty house and an empty home after abandoning your family. So, to end this video, what is this that can make you walk out of your family? Is it poverty? Is it sickness in the head? What can make you abandon your children because you are poor? How can you abandon your children? Why can't you just say, let me die with my children, if it means lacking? I know the situation could be very bad, but you even abandoning your old mother. You know men will abandon. Even that husband of yours who abandoned you is walking the streets with trousers and is very okay. But you abandoning your children. Ladies, carry your burdens to the end. Pray to God who provides. But if you have to die, die with your children. But don't you ever abandon your children, because it is not right, even in the eyes of God. If you have not subscribed to this channel, kindly subscribe. It's a very unfortunate story. It's super sad to imagine some of these things that I've discussed here. And guys, let's keep discussing these things. Share and give this video a like so it reaches many people, so that people can be advised that there are some things that you can do and there are things you can't do. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.